Scientology could be called, well, you could call it a religion of religions.
Howdy everybody, and welcome to the Indie Scientology podcast with your host Andy Nolch, the Space Cowboy. Today's podcast is a secret closed-door briefing on vital information, deep information. That sort of information where people who are new to Scientology, you don't invite them to the briefing, it's closed doors. This is the one that's tucked away and you got to get staff approval to go to the briefing because the information's so deep, so out there, it might shock people who are new to Scientology and they might think Scientology's crazy or just something and they'll run away. So it's closed door, secret. It's just for OTs. And this briefing is about Scientology and cancer. I might have spoken about this ages ago, but I've learnt more since then. And so I just thought I'd do one covering this topic because it's going to be actually about cancer in general. So if you're not even a Scientologist and you just want to know a bit about cancer, this is the briefing for you. I came up with this idea for this briefing because I spoke to my mum and she told me how somebody recently died from the flu, but he had been vaccinated against it. So the vaccine just didn't work, which didn't surprise me. And here's where it goes real deep and about the vaccines and stuff, is that they actually give people the disease that they're supposed to be inoculating them against. And I know that's going to really push people's boundaries there, but honestly, the flu vaccination, it wouldn't surprise me if that vaccine is actually designed just to give everyone the flu. Like, honestly. Because what was happening is that in modern society, in the 1800s things were dirty and stuff, so diseases could spread easier. But in modern society, there's clean food, there's refrigeration, and there's all these improvements and stuff. And people having showers every day because they have access to hot water and stuff like that. People are just cleaner, so they just weren't dying from diseases, and the diseases started falling off. Now, if you're like some evil elite person and you have, you want a control thing, you want to control society, and you're low-toned, you think that there's overpopulation and you're like worried that the world has too many people and stuff, and that's just one big thing about SPs. It's a big trait that SPs have, is they don't like many people and stuff because people came in because they're aberrated, right? So they always seem to have this thing with depopulation. Like, they always want less people. And it's just because they're pissed off all the time. So they're pissed off with people, so they just want to get rid of them. But it's actually because they're PDS themselves. They're creating all their own problems. They're creating their own enemies and stuff. So these people, these powers that be, they want the world population to be reduced. And so how do they go about that? They're obviously really upset that people aren't dying from these diseases. So what they do is they then think, to keep these diseases around and killing people, let's put them inside the vaccine and tell people, this vaccine will protect you against the disease. And it actually gives them the disease. So, people are getting diseases from the vaccines, but also they've been putting cancer viruses in the vaccines. So they've done this is why vaccines such a big issue, because they've done multiple things with these vaccines. They have, not only that, they've also used them as a way to sterilize women. So these are the uses for vaccines. Firstly, on the outside, it looks nice because people go, I don't want to get a disease. I'm going to take the vaccine, right? And there's numerous diseases, right? So then there's numerous vaccines that they can put secret stuff in. So what they've done is, in some of them, they've put in stuff that sterilize women so that women can't have babies because they want to reduce the population. In other ones, they just give the person the disease, right? So it's the opposite. It doesn't help the person. It just gives them the disease. So that keeps that disease in circulation, which is great because it kills people. They like that. Then they also, what's the word? They also, well, I was just saying it, they also put cancer viruses in them, right? And so what the cancer virus does is that years down the track, the person gets cancer. And this is one of the reasons why the cancer rates are much higher than what they used to be. And it could be why prostate cancer is a real big thing. But actually, I think that's even deeper. Prostate cancer is like an invented problem. Real long story, but I don't want to go off topic, but apparently prostate cancer is just a crock of shit. Like, I mean, men get a problem with their prostate as they get older anyway, and you don't have to treat it. But of course, the doctors come along and go, oh, we've got to do something about this because one person dies from it, like really occasionally, and then the treatment they give you actually makes the prostate cancer increase or something, and then it actually gives you cancer. So that's possibly the big secret about prostate cancer, is that the screenings and the treatments for it is a thing that actually gives you the cancer. And it's just a money-making thing. But again, that could be another program to reduce the population, to stuff up prostate cancer treatments and stuff. It's not just vaccines that they've corrupted in order to reduce the population. It's numerous things. And they've done it a little bit for all these things. So it's not just like you get a vaccine and then boom, you die. It's like you get a vaccine and just a tiny little percentage of people die. But it's never enough that people really notice. Do you know what I mean? It's real clever. So they've done it to the vaccines, they've done it to this, they've done it to that. And then combined, it all acts to kill a decent amount of people, but you can never pin it on who's doing it and stuff. And then we get the world population reduced. And it's quite effective. Like, if you saw how big the population growth rates were in the 1800s and the first 30 years of the 1900s, the population growth was huge. But now it's like really slowed down. So when it comes to Scientologists getting cancer, one of the reasons is just the fact that cancer is really popular in general because of vaccines giving people cancer. They've actually intentionally put cancer in the vaccines. So this is just what the powers that be do, you know, when they think that the population's too many. And it's just a freaking joke, because it's just, you know, if it kind of is like, if everybody is driving a car and pumping out that crap out of the back of the car, then yeah, okay, it's not really good for the planet Earth. But the thing is that the powers that be have technology to not use a car, to not pump out that crap. And then, so if we use the good technology, right, which doesn't pollute, which they're keeping secret, if we use that, and Oren Hubbard mentions it in Mission Earth and stuff, if we use that, then we could have heaps of people. So it's just like, they want to have us driving cars, so then they have the excuse, oh, we have to, you know, reduce the population and stuff like that. It's all dodgy. All right. So, amongst PSYOs, you will see, you know, people getting cancer and stuff, and part of that is because it's just part of being in this corrupted Western society. Another part of it is the fact that PSYOs tend to, there tends to be this ignoring of the body going on, where PSYOs think that they can just think positive and then that'll solve their body problem. But the thing is, you can drink poison as much as you want and think positive, and unless you're like Jesus, your body's going to die from the poison. So it's just like, I totally agree with thinking positive, but it seems like the way to think positive is that you actually do things and then think positive at the same time. So let's say you want to get a job, you do things that'll help you get the job, and you do things in the physical universe, and at the same time you use the positive thoughts of, yeah, I'm going to get this job, and you be positive about it, and then they combined, and then you get the job, right? But you can't just treat your body like crap, think positive you're not going to get cancer, and then you're going to get cancer if you do that. Do you know what I mean? So that's the second reason, is that psyos, because they just think that their mind can create reality and everything, right? They get cocky, and I understand why, because I'm very susceptible to this, but I'm also into yoga and health, so, but I'm susceptible to the idea that your mind can just create everything, right? So I understand how people have gotten cancer because of this, like, because it's just like, I understand how you can fall for that trick, because I used to have that attitude years ago where I was just like, stuff it, I'm OT, you know, I'm magical, I could just think things and it comes true. But I wouldn't recommend it, like, especially when you're getting, you know, injected with things that are specifically designed to give you cancer and stuff. It's just like, how can you counteract that? And, you know, when the sky's getting sprayed with chemicals by a secret weather manipulation program, you know, you're breathing in chemicals, it's just like, you can have positive thoughts, but there's just too many other things going on, right? Anyway, so that's the second reason. Psyos just treat their body like crap, and they also believe that the tech will save them. And the problem is that the tech has been corrupted, right? Especially in the church. In the church, the tech has been corrupted, right? And outside the church, I mean, it's not like the tech is perfect, because there are some people doing some squirrel stuff. And so, you know, if you're going along thinking, you know, my thoughts will save the day, I won't get cancer, I can treat my body like crap, and also you're thinking, my Scientology auditing will stop me from getting cancer, and you try and do the Scientology auditing to stop the cancer, but you're getting shit quality auditing by somebody who doesn't even know what their definition of FN is. And you're getting auditing, and you're getting skipped grades, and you're just like, you know, it's just like the auditing isn't going to save the day. So actually, I'll make that a third reason. So the second reason was psyos treating their body like crap. This third reason is psyos thinking that auditing can save the day, and like they're getting corrupted auditing, right? So it's not going to really save the day. And also, I was saying there's another reason. In that they ignore other ways to try and cure the cancer. They think that just Scientology can cure the cancer, which is just ridiculous. Like, as in, that's totally possible. I totally agree. But if you've tried the Scientology auditing and cancer hasn't gone away, then you're an idiot if you continue doing Scientology auditing. Like, I mean, that's just insanity, right? Of course, like the same thing as you've used positive thoughts. Of course, use positive thoughts and think, you know, I won't get cancer, but if you notice something's going wrong, maybe change your game plan. Maybe go, oh, maybe I should do something else than just think positive, right? You know, if you got cancer and you go, I'm going to try Scientology auditing. Scientology auditing is going to save the day. And you go to do it and it doesn't save the day. You've still got cancer. Then you switch your game plan and you go and you do something else. You idiot. I mean, I can't believe people exist who do this sort of stuff. Like, their intelligence level must just be I don't know what to say. I mean, I heard this is actually what Captain Bill did. Like, he had cancer or whatever. He said, I'm going to solve it with Scientology, and then he just died from cancer, right? And Captain Bill's really intelligent, so I don't know why he did that. Like, maybe he was a target. Right, so maybe he's had his mind messed with by the powers that be. There could be more going on. Maybe he actually kind of wanted to move on and die or something, so he just used the cancer as an excuse. Maybe he's just a dumbass in that area, because I notice that some people can be smart in one area, really, really excellent, and in other areas can just be complete dumbasses. So maybe that's just the thing with Captain Bill. He's not a genius all round. He's just very, very smart in certain areas, and he's awesome, and I love his Ron's org, and he's done really well. But in a certain area, he's just completely dumb. But I don't know. I mean, it's just like, This is where Scientology, the impossible is possible. I mean, how the hell can somebody who's so smart as Captain Bill, right, then get cancer, right, get auditing for the cancer, not get better, and just refuse to try other things and just say, I'm going to get better from the I'm going to get better from the auditing. It's just like, well, how's that working for you, mate? Are you getting there? You know what I mean? And then he just dies, and it's just like, what the hell? There are some things I would like answers to in this world, and before I leave, and that's something that I definitely want an answer to. How someone could be so smart and so talented in some area, and then another area just a total dumbass. You know, I think it's possible that whenever these situations happen where I find there's a clash that doesn't quite make sense, I usually chalk it up to there's a lack of information. There's missing data, right? And then as time goes on, I come across data and I go, oh, now that makes sense. But a lot of time people low tone do this, they have a lack of data and they have this problem, but then they just get angry and yell at someone, and it's just like, no, just wait. You know, there's data there. You're not fully understanding what's going on, you know. Anyway, so yeah, obviously if the auditing's not working, then move on to another plan. And there's many different ways to cure cancer, like miracle mineral supplement and stuff like that. But now here's the main reason that I think oh, hold on, there's another point as well. When Scientologists treat their body like crap, part of that is because they're so excited about Scientology, and they're playing this game of Scientology and saving the world, and it's so interesting, the tech and stuff, and they just forget about looking after their body. So that's another thing as well. Because the average Joe isn't as excited about life and doesn't know about Scientology and how cool it is. But when you come across Scientology, you're like, oh my God, oh, there's so much to do, blah, 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 blah. And you can just totally get into doing this stuff and just forget about the body. Whereas the average Joe doesn't have that. So he has a bit more time to look after his body, you know, but that's one thing about Scientology, is that it is literally the cure to boredom. You get into it and your whole universe changes, and you wake up and you realize different things, and you get into all these other things, and you're just like, whoa, all these doors open up, and you're like, there's so much cool stuff. I want to do this, I want to do that, blah, 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 blah. And you can just go, it's just like, wow. And then with me recently, I've had to calm down and accept the fact that I'm here in this time and space right now, and I'm one person, and I can only do one thing. And I can't just do everything. And that's what I have to accept. That, you know, I can't go and do this and I can't go and do that, because there's all these things I want to do. You know, I'd love to make really cool documentaries or something. You know, there's so many things. You know, I would love to make sci-fi movies, you know. So many things, but it's just like, no. You have to look within, stop and go, what is best for me? What is best for my mission? What am I doing here? What's my purpose? And you end up sifting through and going, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is supposed to be my career. This is what I'm supposed to do with my life. And these other things are so cool and stuff, but you know, there's other lifetimes for those other things and stuff. And you've probably already done those other things before anyway. So anyway, that's a problem that you run into. Like before you do Scientology, you're bored, and this is what I found. I was bored and life was shit because you're brainwashed by the whole mainstream system and stuff, and you're just like, these things just don't interest me, and you're just like, you can't see that you don't know about all this cool stuff. You don't know about the bases on Mars. You don't know about the UFOs. You don't know that you can move objects with your mind. So you don't know all these cool things. You don't know about L. Ron Hubbard's cool fiction books. You just don't know about all these cool things. So you just like, oh yeah, I'll go to work, and then you listen to ABC, and it's just like something shit because it's designed to just brainwash you and can keep any good information about the world out, and just talk about teacups and global warming and just boring shit, right? And how like the latest gorilla had a baby at the local zoo or something. And it's just like, Anyway, so life's really, really boring. Then you get into Scientology and it opens you up and you go, oh, wow, there's more going on. Oh, wow, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then you're just like, and the next minute your schedule is just full-blown chockers and you're excited and you're like, blah, blah, blah. And then you calm down and you're like, oh, okay, I can't do everything. And you kind of, it's kind of shit actually, because you realize, you have to just do one thing and yeah, you can't. You have a new problem in that now you've got the problem of that there's so many cool things to choose from and to do. What the hell do I do now? And anyway, and then you calm down a bit and you go, okay, I'll choose the coolest of all the cool things and I'll do that. You know what I mean? I'll try and fit in the other things and I'll just live for really, really long so I can fit in doing all these other things. But here's the main reason for the cancer thing, right? And this is big. There does seem to... Oh, sorry, hold on a second. The squirrel tech also will contribute to cancer. Like as in if you do the tech wrongly, it can send you like PTS and can lead you to get cancer. There's also the suppressive church for people who are involved with the church members, where the members are being suppressed and milked of their money, and they're being milked of their volunteer time and stuff, and that puts them in a PTS condition, and so then they're going to get illnesses and get cancer and stuff like that. So, I mean, this is again where it's all connected. So you got the church member and he's getting his money milked from him from the church. And so then he works more hours so then he forgets about looking after his body. And then it's just like a vicious cycle, and then he ends up getting cancer or something because he's been working so much, putting in roofs or something and in the sun too much or something and dying. Also, there's a little bit of a thing amongst Scientologists and smoking cigarettes, right? Maybe it was probably because LRH smoked cigarettes. And it's also probably because Scientologists say F you to propaganda and stuff. And in the past 30 years, there's been all this propaganda saying, don't smoke cigarettes, no to smoking, all this anti-smoking propaganda and stuff. And... But psyos, I think, are just like, stuff that, I'm going to smoke, you know what I mean? And also because psyos are very anti-drugs, their little way of being cool and being naughty is having a cigarette. So amongst Scientologists, smoking is a bit popular, And also, a lot of Taiwanese are into Scientology and stuff, and smoking's popular in the Taiwanese countries, in those sort of, in that Asian area, the K-pop countries. It's just cigarettes are a bit of a thing, and it probably wouldn't surprise me because they haven't been just insanely taxed. Like you can actually buy cigarettes for a decent price. Like I don't know how much cigarettes are in America, but in Australia they have just ramped them up to just insane levels. It's like $25 for a packet of cigarettes. $25 for a packet of cigarettes. It's just crazy. Anyway, the reason why cigarettes are giving cancer is it's not because of the tobacco or the smoke, it's because the cigarettes are jacked full of crap that causes cancer. And that might again be part of the depopulation program. Seriously, that could be part of it. That could be that they looked at things in the 60s, and because they started doing all this stuff in the 50s and 60s. And that's where you see statistics and degradation start coming in the late 60s and things slowly get worse. But things were just awesome in the 50s, but then they started introducing all these things. So they could have said, everyone's smoking cigarettes, well, we've got to put something in the cigarettes, you know what I mean, that will cause cancer. Like subtly and stuff. And so there's like chemicals in there that cause cancer, And so it just wouldn't surprise me if this is one of their programs, like the same ways when they corrupted the vaccines, they corrupted the cigarettes. It wouldn't surprise me. But actually, I don't know, that's a little bit confusing because it does seem like they continually promoted people to stop smoking cigarettes. But that whole thing, the whole getting people to stop smoking cigarettes was all a distraction from all the other things that were causing cancer. So one of the ways that they do this is they go, yeah, okay, let's make all these things cause cancer, right? But people are going to start protesting about cancer, so we've got to give them something that they can rally against. So let's give them cigarettes. Let's put all the blame on cigarettes. That's going to be a scapegoat. So all the people go, bad cigarettes. People go, like, yeah, put money, and all the money goes towards attacking cigarettes, right? So it distracts the enemy. The enemy is all targeted on cigarettes, knocking out the use of cigarettes, and then all these other things people keep on using, and it gives them cancer. Do you see what I mean? It's a way of distracting your enemy. You know, it's like, it's very clever, but this is psychological operations. This is possibly, they could have consulted psychologists on this sort of stuff, and they were coming up with it. But this is one of the things that they do. It's like when drugs are being imported into America from South America, they have 10 ships go, and one of them they intentionally let get caught. So it's a distraction. So all the police and the drug people, the drug agencies' attention goes to that one person, yet all these other ones can get away. It's a much smarter way. It's like having a controlled opposition. Like in the 1984 book, where they've got the, in 1984 they have that book that they're circulating. They have the resistance or whatever, the resistance against Big Brother, and the resistance is run by Big Brother himself. And so that way they can catch all the people who are rebels, and yeah, they can work out who are rebels because they're part of this special underground group. So they start the underground group. It's just really clever. They start the resistance movement, but they control it, and then they catch people who are resistant. Like that resistance group in the 1984 book, that attracts all the people who are going to rebel against Big Brother, right? It's really clever. And then the movement isn't really a movement, it's a fake movement. So all those people who are attracted to it, they're not really doing anything to bring down Big Brother. And then once they've done a few things that they can, once they've locked in all the evidence that person is a rebel, then now they can go and the guy's in trouble with the police and he can get assassinated. So see how clever it is? This is all warfare and stuff. They don't teach it at school, but it's totally clever. Like if I was coming up with a big dictatorship system taking over a whole society, I would go, yes, let us start the resistant movement, and then we're in control of it from the start. But let the people who are in it think that they're controlling it for a bit, and then all along you're just wasting their time, and then you can use it as a way to catch bad guys and stuff. So anyway, so you got that option where you can start the resistance movement from the start yourself, or if there is a resistant movement naturally arising, you infiltrate it and then you take it over and then you use it in the exact same way where you're actually in control of it. Anyway, so with cigarettes, it seems like there's all these other things causing cancer, and it seems like cigarettes and the sun as well were scapegoats to put people's attention on those things and distract them. And you notice these, and so then the real causes of cancer, like vaccines and probably stuff in the food, don't ever get found out. So that's where the conspiracy of me saying that cigarettes were intentionally jacked with cancer-causing stuff, maybe I'm wrong about that. Okay, but maybe naturally the companies just realize that if you put these ingredients in, people want to smoke more, and they're actually hooked on the chemicals in the cigarettes, not even the tobacco or nicotine or whatever. They're actually hooked on the chemicals. So maybe it's just a natural corruption, like the way McDonald's burgers are just naturally corrupt as well. They just like, it's just a money-making thing and not a depopulation program thing. But again, who knows? It wouldn't surprise me if they also jacked it full of cancer-causing stuff, and then they used it all as a scapegoat and stuff. Who knows? Anyway, so what was I saying? So I was talking about cigarettes and how Scientology tend to smoke cigarettes, so then they can get cancer from that. But the main thing is one of the main reasons that psyos get cancer more than other people, because other people who aren't psyos smoke cigarettes and also don't look after their body and get vaccinated, and that can cause cancer and stuff. So anyway, probably actually the main reason is there is something wrong with the tech. Like, honestly, there is. I looked into it, right? Because I thought the tech was good before the 80s and Miscavige took over and stuff. But there is evidence that in the late 70s, there were a bunch of OTs that were having to go in and get treated for cancer, because whatever was going on with this upper level tech, they were getting cancer. Now, maybe those people didn't quite receive a proper bridge, and maybe those people were bad solo auditors, and maybe the tech needed a finishing touches and needed work on it or something. But it seems like standard tech was actually giving people cancer. Now, so that's where it's like, whoa, because I thought, okay, so Miscavige has fucked up the tech, so it's like, and he's suppressed the church members, so of course in the 90s you're going to get these people who are just getting cancer. But no, this was even happening before that, so there is something going on. This is why Hubbard, what he discovered in the OT levels is such deep tech, and it's just such deep stuff in our minds and spirits and stuff that if done wrongly, it can stuff up. And I actually think this is probably what is the situation. I think that I'll work it out when I actually go to do this stuff myself. But I think it's either the dark side of the force interfering with the higher level tech, right? And trying to give people cancer or something and stuffing up people's high level tech, right? Dark entities coming in, or I don't know, them stuffing it up, right? Or it's that the solo auditors are fairly crap and they're just not doing a good enough job. Like, because Scientology is for smart people. You got to be smart to do it, and it's L. Ron Hubbard just talks as if anyone can learn Scientology, but a lot of people just don't have the knack for it, and so they've got to put in more effort to study and learn more and stuff. And it could be people just, only doing 10 hours on SOP 8C. I mean, that can contribute to it, that early on the bridge, they skipped all this crap. They didn't properly get the lingos, so they didn't properly achieve each of the grades. So of course they're going to run into problems higher up the bridge. These things could be a part of it. So I personally reckon with me, when I go to do the high level tech, I reckon I'm gonna try the Captain Bill stuff, which I think he's fixed up the OT levels, because it seems like there was a problem with the OT levels. So I think that's why I won't get cancer. Also the fact that I really have belief. All that belief. that I was just warning about. But also the fact that I think that I've done things thoroughly. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't done things quickie. Like, I'm making sure that each thing I do I actually achieve, so I'm ready for each level. So that then, I won't be skipping things. But other people are like, they're on objectives and they're like, oh my God, I'm clear. And then they just say, yeah, I'm clear. And then they skip all these things. And then they go and they do the OT levels. And then it's just like, well, no wonder you're getting freaking cancer. I mean, you haven't even achieved these EPs of grade 1 and grade 2 and grade 3. You're just not ready for the OT levels. So that's why you're getting cancer. You know what I mean? Whereas I won't do that, I don't want anyone to do that. And it's just like, it's cool that you've had this experience of being clear, but that doesn't mean you're allowed to skip the tech. Doing the tech, you've got to do the tech. And amongst the independent field, CSs are still letting people skip heaps of the tech because they don't want to say to them, sorry, you've got to do this. You got to redo your grades or whatever. I mean, I think, and I'm not criticizing them, but personally, I don't know, I just think if I was a CS, I would say, oh, so you haven't done grade 3? Oh, well, you're now joining independent Scientology, and, you haven't done grade 3, and, I just don't approve of people skipping shit. I'm sorry. It's awesome you had some win that you think you're clear and all this sort of stuff, and maybe you actually are, maybe you are, but for safety reasons, let's just have you do grade 3. Don't you want to do it anyway? It's interesting. Don't you want to, it's philosophy. You're asked questions about your life and you're asked to think about things. Your attitude that you don't want to do it concerns me. You know what I mean? But I'd say to them, you can go to some other org or something, but who knows? I'm not CS trained. But, I just think that it's just, for me, it's just like, I view it exactly like karate. You got certain levels. You can't just take someone off the street and say, you're going to be an excellent black belt. Let's do your black belt training now. No, you take that person off the street and they've got to do this, they've got to do this belt, they've got to do yellow belt, whatever. Then they're ready for the black belt. And each of those belts they do before, don't just do quickie shit versions. Don't just do 50 hours on your objectives. Sorry, the objectives takes really fucking long to do it properly. I'm serious about that. People can't confront how much time objectives takes. I'm telling you, it takes ages to do it actually properly. There's, you do the processes thoroughly, it takes ages and stuff. People just can't confront that. You do the process until it stops affecting you, Don't just get some wins on it. Don't just get the cognition that you're supposed to get on that thing and then move on. You go until it's flat. You go until you can see that it just doesn't do anything anymore and it's just, you're over it. Because then you've drained all the energy out of that thing, right? So that's one of the best things I think I've done is I've spent a lot of time on objectives, and I totally recommend people to do it. People can't confront how much time it takes to do their objectives. And that's why, look at what's happening to me. I'm surfing between parallel universes and shit. I'm like discovering the secrets of planet Earth and stuff. Like, I'm really fucking involved. And it's just like, I didn't just walk off the street and suddenly achieve this. It's because I was willing to go in there and go in again for another day of objectives, and just put up with it for freaking ages. I was on objectives for like 3 years. And for just so many hours, it's just unbelievable how many hours I was on it for. And I did have some low-tone twins that really caused problems, and I'd never regret anyone to twin with someone who's low-tone. That did not help. But even if I had someone who was uptone, I still needed a long time on objectives, because it wakes you up to reality objectives. It's extremely important level. And with all the drugs and the vaccines and the crappy teachers, it's the bad education system, with all the messiness and the craziness, the insaneness that's going on, you need objectives, because that cures the insanity and the craziness and all this sort of shit, and it gets you thinking straight and seeing reality and going, oh, this is how things are going, and then you move on to the grades, right? So anyway, I think that it's just, that's part of the reason, and so there's all these multiple reasons that are combining, that are giving Scientologists an increased rate of cancer compared to the average church or something. There is more, but there's all these reasons why. And one of them is the fact that psyos are messing with their mind, basically, and it's a good thing to mess with your mind, but it's risky. You know what I mean? And if you're not smart and if you don't try and do it right, you can fuck up and just die from it. It's like, seriously, like Hubbard discovered some really deep shit. He even says, he goes, when he discovered OT3 or something, like I don't know if he said he broke his back or he broke his leg or something, but he said in that Ron's Journal 67, he said he put his body through a lot of stress. So this shit's serious. And I've heard about people who were helping Hubbard discover his technology in the 60s and stuff, and some people just died from it because it just backfired. So I mean, this is serious shit. Oops. It's embarrassing. Drank that wrong. sorry, whenever I do this, I have so much to say, and like whenever I drink my tea, it's just like I do it in like a rush. I'm trying to drink it before it gets cold. But so there's all these reasons, but there is something in the tech that can literally cause cancer. He tapped into something in the mind, some sort of technique or something that if you do wrong, it can give someone cancer. So my suggestion is, to sum up all the reasons why, right? So number one, actually look after your fucking body, you idiot. Because I'm sorry, but there are people out there, I have to use swear words and I have to say emphasis on this, because there's just this attitude amongst psyos that they can just think that they can just like, that they can just smoke cigarettes and eat coffee all the time and, you know, do a detox once every 20 years or whatever, or 15 years and think that they're going to be handled. When there's fucking the government spraying chemicals in the freaking sky. You know what I mean? On like a weekly basis. I don't know how often, right? But probably every 5 days or something, maybe something like that. It could be every day. I don't know, you know? But, you know, you're breathing that shit in. You know, that's why I do Bikram yoga, because you actually smell the chemicals come out of me. It's in a 40-degree room, a hot room, the Bikram rooms. You do these stretches and poses and it gets into certain parts of the body and it drains all the crap out. You can smell the I can smell the chemicals on the towel that I use, right? So I do that on a weekly basis. So it's like, yes, you got to do your Purif to get the toxins out, but you've actually got to do a regular thing to take on after you do your Purif to keep yourself detoxed, because these chemicals are causing cancer, right? So you can't just have the attitude of just, I'm not going to look after my body. I'm sorry. You've actually got to listen to me and you've actually got to go, oh, okay, I'm going to actually take Andy's advice and I'm actually going to sign up for a Bikram yoga class and do it 1 day a week. And I'm going to get those crappy toxins out. You know what I mean? So you got to look after your body. It's just not this attitude of just like treating your body like crap. It's wrong. You got to look into what's, you know, you got to have organic food, not eat junk food and stuff. So that's one point. Next point is avoid the substances that have been intentionally designed to give us cancer. So avoid the vaccines. I wouldn't do the prostate cancer checks. I've heard bad stuff about that. Look into that. What's the word? The cigarettes, don't smoke the cigarettes. You know, avoid those. Then the next reason is, don't let yourself get suppressed, because suppression can give you cancer. So if you're in the church, leave the church, because the church is suppressing you. So you'll get cancer from that. That's one of the reasons. So get away from suppressive groups or people. Another reason is make sure you get good tech. So make sure you thoroughly do all the actions on the bridge and don't skip things, right? And make sure that you're as smart as possible and have as much experience auditing people as possible, like before you do your solo and stuff, so that you do a good job on your solo auditing and stuff. And so yeah, so make sure your tech's good. Make sure you look into, you know, the independents and which one has the best tech. And one big thing is, don't get bogged down on the OT levels or solo knots or whatever it is. There's a level where these OTs just sit on it for freaking years. That's wrong. There's something wrong there, okay? Don't do that, okay? That'll give you cancer, right? And also, finally, the last thing is, to stop cancer is, it comes down to your thoughts creating reality. It's your attitude, because there is dark arts. There are witches in the world, and I'm not joking. There are witches and stuff. Technology exists where you can attack someone spiritually, and this actually is probably what the OT levels are dealing with. You know, I haven't done them, right? But this is what people could be running into. The dark side of the force attacking them, right? And what they do is, one of the things they do is they try and influence you. They remote influence you, right? Remote influencing exists, okay? Witchcraft exists. I know that for sure, okay? So it's just basically using the technique that your thoughts can create reality. So the witch uses her thoughts or whatever, and then it affects the person, and it gives them like a curse or something, and then they get cancer. Like literally, it can happen, right? And the remote influencing is a similar thing. They use their thoughts and stuff, then it can influence the person and give them cancer, right? Of course, I'm not saying all witches and the remote influencing people are bad. I'm just saying that bad forces can use that technology to give you cancer, right? But what they do is, right, is they get you to think that you're getting cancer or something like that. They give you CI, and then you start thinking, oh, I'm getting it. Oh, I don't want to have cancer. Oh, and then you resist it. No, I don't want to have that. Oh, and then your mind is thinking about the cancer. As long as you're thinking about it, you'll get it. Because you get whatever you put your attention on, right? So that's another thing as well, is it comes down to you not having your attention on cancer that can help. So it's not relying on just one of the things I mentioned to not get cancer. You've got to do all the things, then you won't get cancer. You see what I mean? So, yeah, that's about it. But yes, psyos do have increased rates of cancer, and yes, it's because of all these reasons combining that give them it. And so, you know, I recommend doing all those things. Oh, and probably the last point is, if you do actually get cancer, then try multiple things and don't just bog down in one thing to cure your cancer. You know what I mean? Try all these different things. Apparently, Miracle Mineral Supplement is the thing to solve cancer, because you keep on taking it. You take heaps of it for like a month or 3 months or whatever you need, and you fill up your body with this substance, and it changes the pH level of your body. And when you bring your pH level up, that kills off all the cancer. So you've got to take this thing, right? It's really cheap, this cancer cure that Jim Humbles invented, and he's a Scientologist. I think he left the church years ago, but I don't know if he's doing independent Scientology, but he's a psyo, and it's an amazing invention. It cures other problems as well. MMS. Personally, I took it for a month and I thought it was good, but after that I couldn't keep on taking it because it's actually bleach. And so I have problems with chemicals, so it's not good for me. And I could smell myself sweating out the bleach during my Bikram yoga sessions, and I was like, for me, it's only like a month-long thing that was just good to detox me for a bit, or if I got cancer, I'll take it just to get rid of the cancer, but not a long-term thing. But for some people, they can take it long-term. But I wouldn't recommend it. It's literally bleach, but the bleach or whatever brings up your pH in the body, and that kills off all the cancer, and then you're okay. And it's almost a similar treatment to what they say with the chemotherapy, except extremely cheaper, and it doesn't actually kill you. But what the chemo does with cancer is that the chemotherapy is super expensive, so it's just a money maker, and it doesn't really kill off the cancer, it just fucks your body. But they use a similar idea in that they say, yes, this is like a poison, but you've got to take it to kill off the cancer, right? And that's kind of what happens with the MMS. It is like a little bit of a poison, but you take it, changes your pH, it kills off the cancer, like it actually works. But it doesn't, it's not super expensive, and it doesn't bring about all these other problems like what the chemotherapy does. I mean, the chemotherapy, if they're going to jack the cancer viruses, if they're going to jack the vaccines with cancer viruses, they're obviously going to make sure that no one invents a cancer cure. So the chemo, I'm certain, has been hijacked as a part of the depopulation program. I'm sure it's been hijacked, and they've made sure that it doesn't work. So there's no way they're going to give you chemo that actually is effective. Yes, maybe 1 in 10 it actually works on or something, but they're going to make sure that on average it doesn't actually cure cancer, because they put all this effort into all these other things to give people cancer. Then if the medical system was actually curing cancer, then they'll be stuffed. They'll be like, oh, well, that was a waste of time. We can't have it. So they've made sure that the cancer cures don't work. And they also attack MMS. Like, they literally attack this thing I'm telling you about because it works. They also go out of their way, full blown, to try and make sure that if anyone comes up with something that can cure cancer, that they squash it. Like the Jim Humble guy, you get in trouble with the law enforcement agencies and stuff. The government comes after you, and all he did was invent a cancer cure. I mean, the nicest guy ever, you know. He's saving the earth, the nicest guy ever, you know, saving the earth, stopping people from getting cancer and shit at super cheap. When I say super cheap, I mean $30 can possibly cure your cancer, you know, and all these other illnesses. And yet the government comes after him and treats him like he's a criminal, and he has to go into hiding, and it's crazy. And the guy who created MMS had to turn his cancer cure into a church so that he could say that he could be protected by the religious freedoms and say, hey, my church believes in this MMS substance, and so that's our religion, and you can't tell us what to do. And this is actually why Hubbard turned Scientology into a religion in the first place, so that he could say to the government, hey, fuck off. It's a religion, we can do whatever we want, because the government wants to be involved in all these areas because it's so corrupt and so disgusting and so taken over by evil people. They want to tell everyone what to do and control everyone. But if you're a church, you can always say, hey, this is our religion. You cannot pick on us for our religion. So Jim Humble literally called his church Genesis 2 Church, and their church believes in taking this supplement. And you just look into it and you'll be like, this is so retarded. Why is their religion is taking a supplement? How can taking a supplement be a religion? And then you find out, it's for legal reasons that you had to turn it into a religion. And it's just so stupid, but this is the things you have to do to get around the government. That's it. That's it for this KR. I mean, sorry for this briefing. I moved on from calling them KRs. I think briefing is a better word. There's something else I want to mention, just because it's super interesting. And no, I'll mention it. I'm going to do a video on psychiatry, and there was this thing where Alex Jones was talking about psychiatry, and he just was so perfect, and it was just such a great hour-long thing where he was actually interviewing Eddie Bravo, but Alex just was on fire, and Eddie wasn't even really talking much, and he was just saying all this really interesting things, and I was like, wow, this is a great hour-long piece of information that he was on fire. It was just great. Anyway, so I'll mention that in another one, and I'll put a link to it because I want people to watch it, because it's just like, whoa, he talks about the weather manipulation, he talks about the vaccines, he talks about the psychiatrists secretly killing people and stuff. Like, it's just like, it's fantastic. Anyway, what I want to mention was that one of the recent vids I did, one of the recent briefings was on parallel universes. And today I was listening to something, right? This is off topic to the whole cancer thing. I was listening to something which was an interview on Art Bell for like 2 hours, right? Because Art Bell's awesome. He's who I'm sort of copying off, and he's who Joe Rogan copied off as well. With the whole long interviews on unusual topics. Art Bell interviews a guy called maybe Franks or something, but it's about parallel universes. So you just look up Art Bell on parallel universes. There's a bunch of videos. It's one of them ones, and it's fantastic. It's incredible, right? Because I listened to it and I was like, oh my God, this is what I was talking about in my freaking parallel universe briefing. This just totally confirms the shit I was talking about, right? Like, if you listen to it, you would think, oh, Andy listened to this and then made that briefing. And I was like, no, I made the briefing before I listened to this, right? But what the briefing talks about, it talks about exactly what I was saying, where this whole Mandela effect and this whole parallel universe thing is where is the mechanism of how your thoughts create reality. So you've got your consciousness, your awareness, you're here now. And then you tune in to the parallel universe. Like, let's say you want to win the lottery, you think about the lottery or whatever, and you believe that you can win the lottery, and that tunes you into the parallel universe where you really win the lottery, because you have to understand how parallel universes work. and it basically means that all possibilities are occurring at once. All of them, right now. You're in parallel universes right now, all the other universes, right? There's a universe where the Nazis won World War II. There's a universe where you didn't buy a pink dress. There's a universe where just everything, infinity, right? All possibility. This is what infinity is. This is when I say, remember, nothing is impossible. You know what I mean? Because everything is possible, right? It's just infinity. Like, whoa. It's so big we can't even confront, right? So, remember, right? All possibility exists. So all you have to do is tune yourself into the parallel universe that's the one that you desire. And people who believe in themselves, the big Satans, the OTs who believe in themselves, they can really pop themselves into these different parallel universes, right? And the guy talks about this and I was just like, oh my God, this is exactly what I was saying. He was explaining it, and I think he's a professor or whatever, and he knows the actual quantum physics of it and the science or whatever, or the maths. And he said what I was saying, because I came up with that myself. I came up with the idea. I was saying, hold on a second, the Mandela effect could be because I'm doing it by using postulates, by using the power of my thoughts and the secret. It's popping me into parallel universes, right? I came up with that. You know what I mean? Like I came up, like I heard about that there was parallel universes, and I heard that the Mandela effect existed, but I came up with the idea that it was occurring because I was making myself go into different universes using the power of my thoughts, right? I was just tuning my awareness into different universes, right? And this guy was basically saying that in this video. He was going, yeah, so this is how this is how the mechanism of your thoughts creating reality works. And this is how it works through all the quantum thingos and blah, 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 right? And I was like, wow, yeah, that's what I worked out already. So I was like, hey, you know, I just want to tell people that because I'm real smart and I just want to let people know that. Because, you know, I just intuitively sort of worked that out. I was like, well, if I'm, you know, I could be, because I make postulates, I could be tuning myself into these different universes and then actually going to these different universes where the postulate occurs. And so anyway, people have to check out that video or whatever. So look up Art Bell, Parallel Universes or Alternate Realities, and look through all the videos. There's one that's around 2 hours long with a guy, I think with the name Frank, and it's fantastic. And he talks about the movie called Frequency, right? Which I did watch, right? Because I heard it had some deep info in it, but he said to me that that is accurate science in frequency. The science of it is accurate. And so when I watched it a few months ago, I thought it was a sort of boring movie in like the acting and the storyline and stuff. But, you know, so I was just like, oh yeah, so they're talking about parallel universes and stuff. And so I get it, and they're based like a sci-fi movie on parallel universes. Not that interesting, you know what I mean? But now he's told me that in this interview, the guy said that parallel universes, like he said that the science of that movie is correct. Like when they wrote that movie, they contacted actual scientists and stuff, and I wasn't quite aware of me shifting into other ones using my thoughts and stuff. So I'm going to rewatch that movie again, Frequency, right? But don't watch it from, I was watching it from entertainment point of view when I first watched it. Don't watch it from entertainment point of view. Watch it from this is a science class point of view, and actually watch the movie and watch what happens during the movie, right? But he also said in this interview that different paths, different parallel universe paths can combine to one today. And that totally explains the Mandela effect, right? Because you've got, with the Mandela effect, you got people with the Mandela effect, you got people who are switching between parallel universes and then going, but I remember it was different, but also some evidence in this current universe proves that there was the old version of the Ford logo. So what we're actually getting is, we're not just, with the Mandela effect, we're not just getting people en masse popping between parallel universes, right? Because there's a bleed through of evidence, that indicates that we're actually getting parallel universes combining, right? Because there is evidence for the Berenstain Bears, and there is evidence for Luke, I Am Your Father, like actually recorded evidence when you look into it. That's what people look for. They go, no, but I remember it was the old one, and they actually find some evidence where they see like a movie cover that has the old version, right? And it's like, whoa, what the fuck? That doesn't make sense. If we have popped into a parallel universe where that movie was different, right? All the evidence should indicate that that movie is different, and only your memory should remember that it was different, that it wasn't quite like that. Do you know what I mean? But we're finding evidence in this universe for the old original version. So it's showing that universes are combining. This is where the Mandela effect is confusing. It's not just universes, people popping between parallel universes. It's also parallel universes combining and molding together, right? And then you get this weird combination of like evidence for the old version and the new version, right? And you get people who are from the original universe and they remember the original version, and then you get people from the new universe and they have the new version. So you have people's memories that are mismatching, and you've got physical universe on what that movie line was, physical universe evidence mismatching. So it's interesting. So this is all about universe surfing, and so that universes break apart and then they come back together again. And then you can surf between them. So it's like a lattice. The guy was saying it's like a lattice, and you're moving through the lattice, and you can go down this path and then break away and make this decision and go down this path, and then your universes can combine, and then so you can have two different paths and shit, and it's just like, whoa. But this seems to be what the evidence is. This seems to be what's happening. And this might be one of the ways that auditing works, and when you think you can change the past, right? Because you can mold your universes together. So he said that you can change the past. The past can be changed. How the hell can the past be changed? Well, because you go to a different parallel universe where that was the situation, but then you mold it in with your current one, and it's just like, wow, this is really out there physics. This is physics that Earthlings just don't know about because they haven't even mastered anti-gravity yet because it's been covered up. But it's really fascinating. This interview was really gold. It took a while to get through because it was just so deep, the ideas and stuff, but I was just like, wow, this is just what I was talking about. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that about the parallel universe stuff because, I'm not going to do I wish I'd listened to it before I'd done that briefing, but this is just more info on it. But a good way to think of how this parallel universe works is like a lattice you get in the garden, and you're working your way through the lattice. And also from that interview, which was really interesting, and you can just go wherever you want. But what I'm trying to say is that you have to remember that everything is possible because of quantum physics. This science proves it. And I realized how you can get better at postulating. It's not just by believing, going, oh, I believe, I really think that and really intend that. When you understand the actual science of it, you go, oh, that makes sense, and you really can freaking intend, and you really can believe because you know the science behind it. You see what I mean? And so when you know the evidence for it and how it works, like a lattice thing where you go between one universe to another one, I don't know, I just found with me after listening to this interview, it was like, now that I had a understanding of it, it was like, whoa, now I can postulate. You know what I mean? Now I can really actually sit down and postulate. And I had something else happen and I actually intend and be like, no. This is just like, I can believe it. You know what I mean? Not just be like, not have that mental wrestle where you're like, you can't just win the lottery. It's not possible. You can't just win the lottery. You know what I mean? I can't just think about the lottery and I'm going to win it. Like you have like this mental fight going on, right? But when you actually understand the science of it, you're like, no, this is how it works. You know what I mean? This is just like, you boil a kettle and you turn a kettle on and it boils 100 degrees. This is just normal shit, That's what I felt after listening to this thing. I was like, yeah, now I get it. And also I had something else that really boosts my ability to believe in postulates as well, in that I had a postulate come off recently. There was one of these really big postulates, like sort of the equivalent to winning the lottery sort of postulate. I made the postulate and then of course you forget about it, and then once you forget about there's no CI, and then in the future suddenly the postulates come true and you're like, whoa, that's pretty cool, you know. Chris Shelton, of course, will say it's just good luck, but I came across something in my universe that was like, wow, this could definitely be the postulate that I made. This could be me having popped into a parallel universe and then that becomes a reality or something, and voila. And it's actually really good news. I can't talk about it because I like to keep things, it's obviously such good news that I can't even talk about it on this video because I don't want anyone knowing anything, right? So obviously this isn't just me thinking and my toothbrush becomes brand new again, which is what I've done, which is pretty cool. This isn't just that, right? This is like big, you know what I mean? So that is really cool. And when you have that happen, you're like, wow. And also it made me realize that no, you don't have to think how it's gonna happen. You don't have to go, okay, I'm gonna make a ton of money because I walk across a bank just as the bank vault's being emptied and the bank attendant says, here's an excess $100,000, here you go, and just hands you $100,000. You don't have to think how exactly you're going to get the $100,000. Remember, all you have to do is just make the postulate, I want a ton of money, and then the universe sorts it out, and then you go into the parallel universe where that occurs. Do you see what I mean? And that's what I've done recently, like literally. You know what I mean? And that when I saw this recent good news that I've got, right, that I can't mention, when I saw this, I was like, oh, this could be the postulate that I made. You know what I mean? Because you have to make, like I said, you have to make the postulate general, and vague. And I thought, oh, wow, I didn't think of that's how I could come across that, because basically it's money, basically to do with money. And I always thought, I want a ton of money. Firstly, I can't be stuffed going and buying lottery tickets. Secondly, I can't just postulate that I'm going to walk down the street and find a briefcase full of ton of money. I mean, it seems so unrealistic that you're going to find a ton of money in a briefcase and then be like, yay, I found my money, the postulate came true. Like, it's hard to believe that, you know what I mean? So I just made the thought that I'm going to come across a ton of money, and then the universe sorts it out, and then I came across something that is a realistic ton of money. Like, it's not a briefcase on the side of the road, right? But it's a realistic way. And I thought, oh, wow. So now in the future, whenever I postulate to get money, I can just postulate what this was, right? I'm not going to say what it is, but I'll say it in the future. I'm just going to postulate, firstly, I'll just postulate money, but also if I want to do specifics, I can just postulate this specific thing, and that's a realistic way that I can actually believe that it's a way of getting money. So anyway, I guess the lesson to say is that you just have to have the thought, and like, for example, let's say with you want a really hot girl, for example, you don't have to think, I want this specific hot girl and I'm going to get her on this Tuesday night date, or this Tuesday night when I walk into her cafe and I want to chat her up, and you don't have to think about the specifics, you just have to think, really, really hot girl I'm going to get. That's all. And then the universe will sort it out, and then you'll probably forget about it, and then in maybe 6 months' time, maybe 6 years' time, you'll just come across this mint thing, and it'll be in a way that you didn't expect. It wasn't in the cafe that you thought, it wasn't the girl that you thought, but it'll occur, you know what I mean? So the same thing with the money, you know what I mean? Don't think, oh, a briefcase in a park and you just come across it, or like, don't think, or inheritance, I'll just come across a ton of money in inheritance, just think a bunch of money and the universe will sort it out, and you'll get it in some unusual, unique way. And also, that means that once you've had the postulate, be open to what could be that postulate. So let's say you've had the postulate, you want to come across a ton of money, right? And there's you come across a watch, right? And you're at work or whatever, and there's a watch there, right? And you ask some people, and no one claims the watch, and you leave it there, and you put a note there, and you say, lost watch. Whose watch is this? And no one's claiming this watch. Someone's just lost this really expensive watch. That could be the universe giving you the watch, giving you the money, because you could sell that watch for like 20 grand or something like that. It's like a real expensive one, say, right? You haven't stolen it. You've gone out of your way to try and find who owns it, but no one's claiming this watch. That is the universe giving you your postulate of the money thing. Do you see what I mean? But you could have had the postulate, right, I want the money. You could have walked to work, you could have walked past the watch and just thought, oh, that's just a lost watch, the owner's going to claim it, and not paid attention to that watch, right? And you could have skipped past your postulate. Do you see what I mean? So you can, like, you should have been monitoring that watch. That the universe was giving you the freaking money. Do you see what I mean? But it just wasn't handing it to you. It wasn't just handing you a chunk of money going, here. You know what I mean? It was giving you it in a different way. So you've got to be open to it. You know what I mean? You've got to be open. You got to go, oh, there's a watch there. Oh, this might be the ton of money I might come across. I'm going to look out for that. And then no one claims it. And then in a work meeting, they're like, who's watching this, blah, blah, blah. And then one day, no one's claiming it. You've given, if somebody at the workplace had lost it, you've given them all the chance to claim it. So you're not stealing, because obviously stealing's wrong. Then one day you go into work, it's sitting on the bench, says, claim watch or whatever, and you just take it. You're just like, well, this is mine now. I mean, this guy is not, whoever's lost it is not claiming the watch. And obviously in the future, if somebody does then say, hey, I lost my watch, obviously give it back to them, you know. Because you've got to treat people how you would like to be treated. But you'll be surprised at, what I'm trying to say is you'll be surprised at how your postulate can come true. It might be like this watch example where you just literally come across a watch that no one's claiming, and then now you've got to get it and sell it. And then you got the money, you know what I mean? And so that's another thing as well. Where some people might not believe in postulates. It might be the fact that you haven't understood how the universe has given you your postulate. So you've got to be, remember, you've got to make the postulate, and you've got to be aware of how, you've got to make a general postulate. So just think hot girl or just think money, you know what I mean? Don't think the specific way, because it's going to be really hard to vibrate and achieve that, right? But just think the general thing, and then be open to what could achieve that thing in your universe, right? So don't think, I'm going to get that specific job from that specific employer. I'm going to kill that job interview. It's going to be great. I'm going to get that specific job. Just have the postulate, I'm going to get a job, and then be open to opportunity. And then next minute, you could be flying to South Africa, riding on a boat, or something really random that you didn't expect, but it could be fantastic. You know what I mean? So keep up that attitude. Another thing, right, that I want to mention is that, just while I'm on the topic, because I forgot to mention it as a part of the parallel universe thing, is that this would have been really good if I'd mentioned this during that one, because that was a great briefing, I reckon, and quite long and thorough. I don't know if I mentioned right, but I got a call from a parallel universe. Just laughing, the skeptics would be like, what the hell? I literally got a phone call from a parallel universe. And so I wish I'd mentioned that, but it makes sense where somehow universes can bleed across. And sometimes I think there's evidence out there for sometimes people can take photos of something, and the photo technology somehow had some ability to capture what was in a parallel universe. And so all the people who are in the room couldn't see this thing, but when they took the photo shows this thing, and it was a bleed through from the parallel universe. So there's interesting shit happening. But I once got a phone call from a parallel universe, and on the phone call I spoke to a parallel universe of my high school friend, but I didn't know it at the time. I just took the phone call, right? I was just like, hey, my phone's ringing. I was like, hi. And he was like, you told me how he had I'll just tell you the story, right? You're not going to believe it, but anyway, he had some business idea, and this was when I was like 21, so well, 21, I hadn't spoken to him much since I left school. He was like, hey, how you doing? He sounded a bit different, and I was like, it just seemed a little bit odd. I was just like, it didn't quite sound like him. I was just like, anyway, so he was like, I got this business idea, and it was probably one of those bullshit pyramid scheme marketing things. But he said, you know, hey, I'm having friends come around on Saturday. We're all gonna look into this opportunity. And he knew I was good at economics and stuff. And he was like, maybe you'll be interested in this business opportunity and stuff. And so I was like, yeah, cool. I think I said I'll come, or something like that. And he told me the time, and I think I even wrote it down in my diary, right? And I hang up the phone, and the only thing I thought that was strange about it, because it made sense that he would call me, because he was a sort of sensible sort of guy, and a sort of businessy sort of guy. He was Greek, so like they drove a Mercedes, but they were sort of into money. You know what I mean? They were sort of into that game. It made sense, but the only thing that was a bit strange was his voice just seemed a bit different, right? Anyway, so then a few days later, right, I randomly bump into him at the shops. So of course I bring up his the event that's coming up. You know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, blah, 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 and spoke about it and stuff. And he was like, how do you know about that? You know what I mean? I was like, because you called me and invited me. And he was like, no, I didn't. And so he goes, I thought about that. He was going to, but for whatever reason, he just didn't, right? But I knew about it, right? I knew about his thing that was coming up and this opportunity and stuff. And I was like, whoa, what the hell? And I was like, no. I was like, what the hell? You didn't call me? I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, no, look, I have it here in my diary. And I was like, and he was like, no, I was going to invite you or something. But I was like, what the fuck? Like, this was before I knew about the Mandela effect. This was actually when I first started Objectives, and this was like a year and a bit after I'd just gotten into Scientology. But this was like, I was like, what the hell? I was like, are you serious? I was like, what? I was like, I got a call from you and stuff about this. And I also thought it was weird that I randomly bumped into him, like the synchronicity of that, like just after he'd done this call and stuff. Anyway, so from a skeptic point of view, I thought, maybe he invited someone, then that someone thought it would be funny to prank call me, pretend to be him, and invite me to this thing. Now, the reason why I'm not saying that's the case is because I didn't hear any laughs in the background, right? This wasn't like we were 16 years old and doing prank calls when we were doing prank calls when we were 16 years old. There was no laughs in the background. If it was a prank call, it was just the lamest prank call ever, because it was just like, hey, you know, how you been? I've got this thing coming up. It was just like, during prank calls, people usually do something that's pranky or funny, or there's laughing in the background or something stupid. But this was just like, you know, I've got this seminar thing coming up. Like, it was just like, it was the world's lamest prank call, right? Anyway, I honestly reckon, because people claim that there's stories about this, and this is why listening to Art Bell is such an interesting thing, because you get stories from people calling up, and they tell about their life experiences. And people that claim that they have gotten calls from parallel universe versions of other people and stuff, I honestly reckon, right, that I got a phone call from the parallel universe version of this guy's name's Peter. So somehow the phone call came into this universe, right? Or he called me, then after the phone call, I switched into the universe where he didn't call me, and then I bumped into him in the shops, and he was like, no, I didn't call you. I just thought I thought about calling you, but I don't know why I didn't. I think, but I obviously was in his universe as potential people to invite to this event, right? But he said to me, he goes, oh, I didn't bother calling you or something like that. But he did think about me, right? But anyway, so I don't know which one it is. Either the phone call somehow magically bleeded through into this universe, and I was connected through to a different parallel universe, or I switched universes. Like, maybe I got the phone call from him a few days, the next day I had some thought like, wouldn't it be cool if the sky was like a stronger coloured blue or something, and then I popped into the universe where the sky was a stronger coloured blue, and then he, in that universe, he also happened to have invited me to that event, and then I was like, what the hell? But I'm telling you, it's exciting, man. I mean, I was at the shops. This was it's probably exactly a year after I got into Scientology, but at the shops, at this stage I didn't know about the Mandela effect, but I was just like, whoa, what the hell? And I was saying to my friend, this is freaking crazy. My friend just couldn't, this is my friend who was a skeptic. He couldn't understand what I was talking about when I was trying to say to him, no, I spoke to Peter, I saw him at the shops, and he said, no, I haven't spoken to you. And I was like, what? And I had it written down in my diary to go to his event, and it was just like, it was just the craziest thing, right? He just thought that He thought, I didn't know it was true. I didn't know exactly about this universe idea, but now I do. It's just like, okay, this is probably a parallel universe surfing thing. But he was just like, he thought there must be a more logical explanation, and just like completely didn't see anything exciting about it. But I was just going off my tits. I was just like, hold on a second, this could be something wild. This could really be something, you know. And only all these years now later, after I've heard about stories about people getting phone calls from other universes and the Mandela effect and this interview I recently listened to and stuff, now it all makes sense. And now, literally, if it happens again, I'll be like, this is really cool. I'll tell people about it on a briefing, but this is just how the world works. And when you really believe, and you can really postulate and believe, then it's going to happen to you more often, because you're going to be pulling yourself into different universes all the time. You're going to be universe surfing. You're going to a universe where, you know, you found the money on the side of the road, and you're going to go to that universe where you had this happen. You're going to a universe where you had that happen, you know what I mean? But these other people who don't believe that they're gods, don't believe that they can change reality, right? They're just always going to stay in the same universe, and they're going to listen to this briefing and think that Andy is just a full-blown nutter. You know what I mean? But that's because they've just been thinking, they've never tried to universe surf. They've never tried universe surfing. They've never tried postulating, right? So of course they're always going to be in the same universe, you know? And they're just going to stay stuck in the same. And they're going to be like, dude, I've never had the Mandela effect happen, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, yeah, because you don't understand physics. You don't understand the truth of how this whole experience works. And you're not open to new ideas. So you're not thinking these new ideas. You're thinking that things are just always the same, so they'll always stay the same. Anyway, went totally off topic, but I had to just tell you that stuff, because I should have mentioned that phone call during that briefing, but I'm telling you, this stuff happens, and it's really cool. Like, if you have it ever happen to you, it's just like, it's so exciting, because you're like, what the fuck? Like, when I saw this friend at the shops, I was just like, what? I was like, no. Like, I was as in, like, I made sure I repeated the auditing question. I was like, and got the answer. I was just like, okay, so you didn't call me. Okay, but I knew that you had this event coming up, blah, 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 blah. And like, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, this is wild. Anyway, that's it for this briefing. I've been your host, Andy Nolch, the Space Cowboy. You've been listening to the Indie Scientology podcast. So remember, do those things so that you don't get cancer. Remember also about the parallel universes and stuff, and keep an open mind to all that stuff, because look for evidence for it, because it's cool and it's fun. Universe surf and postulate. But mainly remember that what you thought was impossible is possible, because all possibility exists all at one time, and you just tune yourself, you Satan, you just tune like a radio straight into that universe where you want to be. You just put your awareness into that universe, and bam, you tune it like a radio dial. You vibrate yourself. You think where there's all these lovely apples, and you go, and you think about apples, and you go boom, and because there's all possibility, everything exists. There's universes where apples are really crap. There's universes where apples don't even exist. But you tune yourself into the universe where apples are fantastic and big and juicy, and you're there. Literally like a TV tuning dial. You're God outside all of this, and you're looking in, and if you want to see different things, you've just got to look into a different parallel universe, and that's how it works. See you later.